listening to the Budget Overland podcast, where we talk everything overlanding, have guests on regularly, and even have a bonus show on Mondays called Overland Shenanigans, which it's like it sounds, a bunch of shenanigans. Stick around, see who's on today's episode. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Budget Overland podcast. I am your host, Benji, and before we get into today's episode, there's a couple little housekeeping things I need to address. First and foremost, as you guys know, we did a Super Swag Pack giveaway 3 weeks ago, and I did not hear from the winner. So, unfortunate for that person, but fortunate for y'all that left a review over on Apple Podcast. I'm going to redraw and announce that winner on Monday on Overland Shenanigans. If you have not registered, how you do so is you go over to Apple Podcast, leave Budget Overland a review, and I will harvest your name and put it into a drawing software thing and then hopefully select you as a winner. Now, it's not like a one and done deal. I'm going to do this every 50 reviews, Super Swag Packs, probably up until 300 to 500 reviews, and then we might start adding some cool stuff to it via either sponsors or just me purchasing something to give to help, offset it a little bit, just to nudge you a little bit to go leave a review. So anyway, that's it. Go over to Apple Podcasts, leave Budget Overland review. Secondly, most of you guys know by now, I started doing a monthly email. July was the first month I started doing this. Last week, we had about 5,600 emails opened, which is fantastic for the data that I need to harvest to show these companies that we're serious. Right now, I've got about 11,000 emails, and that's constantly growing. If you want to register for this, go over to budgetoverlandportal.com, scroll all the way down at the bottom, and submit your email. I will not spam you. I will not sell your email. I will not do anything outside of the parameters that are made. I'm going to send out an email right now once a month that include killer deals. That's all it is. If you don't want to save money or get deals, unsubscribe at any given point. There is no attachment. Like, there's nothing here. I don't care if you want to be on the email list or not. They're just throwing it out there. So it's only exclusive for those who submit their emails. Not going to address this too many times on the podcast, nor am I going to post it on social media, especially on Facebook and all this stuff. If you want deals, you need to sign up for the email list. Secondly, you need to open the emails that you receive and check out the items. I need the click-through rate data. I need the open rate data. So down the road, I could take that to companies, not necessarily businesses, but companies that I can just use that as a negotiation ploy or an incentive to them to give us deals. That's it, folks. All right, second or third or fourth, heckadoodles. I don't know where I'm at right now. So getting into today's episode, we talk about the Upper Peninsula, which is really cool. Jason Gunnells reached out to me Friday or Saturday, doesn't matter, of last week. He just got back from the Upper Peninsula. He is from Alabama, drove all the way up to the Upper Peninsula in Michigan and told me things. Just it's so much. It's so cool when people just reach out to you and be like, hey man, I know that you're going to do this trip. Here's what I've learned, and here's kind of what I wish I would have done. His trip sounded fantastic, and to be honest with you, I cannot wait to go. And after listening to this episode, I'm sure you guys are going to want to go too. So without further ado, let's get into today's episode. Jason, what is going on, man?
Oh, not much, man. We just been playing IT department for 45 minutes, I guess.
I mean, I feel your pain because it's frustrating on today. In today's world, you're either with technology or you're just lost. And with tech changing every 5 minutes, it's frustrating, from TV remotes to your cell phones. So
I'm sitting in front of me now is a MacBook Pro, an iPhone, an iPad, a wired mouse, a set of Bose headphones, and I'm actually talking to you with a old set of wired Apple headphones and a computer that's about 8 years old. That's all I could get to load on. So, yeah,
so
pretty good.
If someone walked in, it'd look like a media room or something, I guess. So
yeah, I guess
control
so.
room.
It's pretty bad.
Well, dude, I appreciate you coming on and kind of unreluctantly. You sent me a message the other night, right, about your recent trip to Upper Peninsula.
Yeah, I'd messaged you back maybe 2 or 3 months ago, and because you had posted that you were thinking about taking the family up there.
Yes.
And I messaged you, I said, hey, I'm going in July, and I'll reach back out and give you some feedback on it. And so I just reached back out. We got back Saturday midday, and I just said, "Make shot you a message. Hey, you want to chat about it or whatnot?" And it turned into getting on the podcast. And
did I twist your arm too bad to get on here?
No, man, it's all good. You got a third gen 4Runner, so you probably could have talked me into it.
Good. What's your rig, by the way?
I'm currently rolling in a 09 GX 470.
Oh,
I've had a couple of third gens. Third gen's probably my favorite vehicle out there.
Wow.
I actually had one that had the infamous frame rust, and that joker broke on me going down the road about 5 years ago. I've been looking for one, and
for another third gen.
I was for the past couple of years, and I needed one without a sunroof because I'm 6'7", so that sunroof assembly drops the headliner down about 4 inches.
Okay, yes, you and I can relate. I am 6'6", and
there you go.
It's that sunroof that has that little dip in there to retain the glass, and it's like you hit a bump, buddy. You're like 1/4 inch, 1/16 of an inch there.
Yeah, so I've had 3 or 4, and all of them had sunroofs. And I've sat in one that didn't, but it's hard to find a 4-wheel drive without a sunroof. Man. So I've been looking for a long time, and just never could find one in good shape. They're all trashed. And then my wife actually had a little accident in the GX last August.
Ooh.
And wasn't nothing bad. Just animal ran out in front of her right at dusk at the house, and she ran off in a ditch and ripped the front bumper off and tore an axle boot, stuff like that. Nothing crazy. Well, while it was in the shop, we've been talking. So last May, a really close friend of ours, our age, we're late 30s, died unexpectedly. And I've been talking about getting back into doing some of these trips like I wanted to do when I was younger in my 20s. And I didn't do them to the severity I wanted. I wanted to go to Alaska when I was in my 20s, and all this stuff. And I didn't. But I did have a first-gen 4Runner that I still have. I've had it for like 22 years. So I have done camping and off-road trips. And
what year's your first gen?
87. With a solid axle swap.
So was the solid axle swap off of like a first gen pickup or the first gen 4Runner?
Yeah, it was off an 85 pickup axle on the front. Yeah, so it's Toyota running gear.
And I totally just hijacked what you're saying, but you did the SAS yourself?
No, I'm not a welder. I can do a lot of stuff and not weld. So I had a buddy of mine do most of the hard fab work on it, welding, and it's kind of been a tinker project for about 4 or 5 years just because of moving, job changes, etc. I haven't really got to finish it, but I don't think it would be the quote overland type vehicle. It's just not.
No,
I wouldn't trust it to. I used to drive to the beach a lot when I was younger, top off, and I have a set of half doors that we made back in the day. We cut down a set of doors and capped them, so they're pretty sweet. Dude. But so I love my first gen, but so back to the rig now. So she wrecked the GX, and then I was like, you know what? We'd been talking. I was like, I'm doing these trips. Our friend passed away, and it kind of kicked us in the butt. It kicked me in the butt because my wife was 100% like, I'm not going overlanding with you. She was like, her idea of camping was, we're in high school in the South. We're out by a mud hole on a Friday night. Everybody passes out drunk. That's what her idea of camping was from what you do when you're a kid. No, it's a little different than that. So in the meantime, when the car was wrecked, actually a buddy of mine's got a 05 LX 470 that he's second owner on, lifted, just immaculate condition. And he's like, I'm going to sell it because I need to buy an engagement ring. So I bought that for the wife. So I bought her a more capable rig. I bought her a 100 series.
Nice.
And I found some bumpers for the GX off of Facebook, off of Wreck-Card, and put them on there, winch bumper in the front, spare tire swinger tire in the back. And so this is my rig now. That's what I'm going to use for my overland trips. And
very cool.
Yeah. So we did a couple.
And that was
that was August, September-ish time frame. And so we did what trip did we do? We did like the little 601 is what it's called here in Alabama. It's like 20-mile trail in the Talladega National Forest. Did that, just sleeping, took the back seats out of it, slept in it on an air mattress. And I was good with that. But then the wife said, you want to go? So she went. She was like, I kind of like it, but, she wanted some more like luxury or whatever you want to call it, comfortability. Mm-hmm. So I bought a rooftop tent, which was that was the first major purchase, which was a really smart one because those things are glorious. Got a 23-0-72, so it's huge. So me and you big people will fit in it great.
Nice.
But then we graduated. We'll ramble a little bit about vehicles here, but we graduated up to I'm towing a Patriot X1N camper now with the GX. So
Nice.
the ones made in Australia. So we actually found a used one of those. We picked it up back in March. And the idea behind that was, to do these like this trip we just did to Michigan, these 7, 8, 9 dayers where you outfit at the house and you don't really have to do nothing. So maybe get some water on the trip. That was kind of the idea behind that. Because I want to do a couple of big ones a year. So we actually GX 470 stock suspension, all terrains, with bumpers and winch, pulling a Patriot X1 in right now. With the N is got the roof rack on it, and the rooftop tent is on the trailer. So that's what I took to Michigan. My buddy Mike went. He's got a 2023 Pro 4X Frontier. Got a little lift on it, stock tires, and also got some XO rack type stuff. Billy Barr's brand with the rooftop on his. So it was two of us that went to Michigan.
So you're from what part of Louisiana or Alabama? My bad.
So the suburbs, the far off suburbs of Birmingham, southern Birmingham. So downtown Birmingham is about an hour from us. So live just where if you ever go up and down I-65 in Alabama, everybody knows where the big, huge Peach water tower is.
Okay.
It's just north of Montgomery. So I'm about 20 minutes off that exit for a reference for anybody that travels up and down I-65 to go to the Gulf Coast to vacation.
Very cool. And so getting into this whole overland thing, you kind of, let's not say you sped it up, but you made it a priority after your buddy's passing. Was it on your radar, like this car camping, overlanding stuff?
Yeah, it was. I'd always kind of wanted to do not the one day weekend right here by the house trips, but wanted to do it since I was younger, and kind of talked to at the time, girlfriend. Then we got married. We've been together for about 7 years, but it was one of those things where she wasn't a priority to her in a way. And it was kind of a back burner thing to me because we bought a house, worked from the house. And then I was like, man, I need an escape. This overland, like I was gone for 8 days in Upper Michigan, that away from everything, that escape, to get away from life, get away from work, get away from, not get away from life. That's probably a wrong statement, but day-to-day
No, I've
life.
said that before.
Yeah.
No, I've said that before. And I think a lot of people can relate what you're saying. It's kind of like, you can go camping in your backyard. Well, if you don't feel good or something, you're just going to go home. It's too easy to, but if you want to actually in an adventure to get out there and push yourself and to feel more like an adventure, you're going to want to go further. So
correct. Yeah, that was it. It was on the radar. And then when a friend passed, and it kind of was like, okay, we're going to do it. And then 2 months later, she had the accident. I was like, well, I guess I'm not going to get a third gen 4Runner and do this. It's going to be the GX. And so it just went full bore from there. And like I said, Facebook Market finds, finding the bumpers, finding the tires I put on it are off a new Bronco. I bought a set of takeoffs off a new Bronco I think I gave $375 for them with 2,000 miles on them. So just
what size were those?
265, 70, 17. So like right at a little bit over 31 and a half. A little bit bigger than stock on the GX. But yeah, just doing that, I've done probably 6 trips, anywhere from 1 day to this last one was 8. Do the Big Frog Loop in North Georgia, Southern Tennessee. Done the local stuff right here. We've kind of made our own little adventure trail through Central Alabama. Me and some buddies have.
So you rolled with Mike Hancock?
I did not roll with him on this trip, but I do know him. Yes,
you know him, but you're in your area though, right? So
yeah, he's right down the road from me, not far. Yeah, we've got a little club. It's called GTA Overland. I don't know. That's not Grand Theft Auto, but somebody made it back before I got back into this. So probably before middle of last year, and it's Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama Overland, and it's just it's a private Facebook group and chat with like 80 people in it. And people just get together, and we may have 10 guys meet up. We did maybe 10 or 12 to the Big Frog Loop back in March or April. So that's cool. Where I met Mike at. But that's not the Mike that went with me on the trip. But yeah, I do know Mike Hancock, that he met y'all for that ride y'all did in the Ozarks, I believe.
Yeah, that was a doozy.
That's when your CV come apart, ain't it?
Man, I was driving. Golly, I was in 2-wheel drive because I broke a CV axle, and for some reason I was leader on this one stretch because Baker was in charge or in front of me. Well, he got high centered on a rock in a like a water pit or whatever. I don't even know what you call it. It wasn't even mud. It was just full of water and a rock bottom. Anyway, he got held up, so I went around him, and I had to go straight, and I ended up popping off my front left tire off the outer bead, and it was just full of adventure.
What pressure were you on that when you did that?
Well, see, that's the thing. I was 2-wheel drive, so I had to
Yeah.
send it, and I
Yeah.
think I was about 15 to 17 psi, which was too low to send it.
Yeah.
And it was just I had to. It was like a wash that went down in the mud and then came up. But little did I know that there was like a wall there. It wasn't a complete,
Oh,
you know,
okay.
trek. So it was like, yeah, it stopped me pretty hard.
That's the Ozarks, isn't it?
Yeah, man. But it was probably one of my favorite trips down there, and we pulled it off, man. That was a lot of people. That was 10 dudes. Surely I don't think it was 10 rigs, but it might have been 10 rigs. Yeah, it was 10 rigs. That was insane.
Our last Big Frog Loop and trip was 10 rigs, I think. We broke up in 2 groups of 5. It's not anything extreme riding, though. It's more, forest road, gravel. You get up some elevation, you can see some stuff. It's nothing that extreme. Just maybe some rough trail. Not really anything that's bad, mud-wise or rut-wise. But, yeah, 10 is a haul, especially trying to get out of camp in the morning. That kind of stuff can drag you down.
The biggest kicker for us was, you had Mike coming from the south. I had some other guys come up from Texas. I had somebody come up from down from Indiana. People that were already in Arkansas, somebody from Oklahoma, and then me from Missouri, all meeting at different times and locations in the state of Arkansas. And we're just hoping for the best. And it worked out flawlessly.
Did y'all know the trails?
No.
Well, that makes it terrible because you have no idea how long it's going to take you to get down them.
I went on one of the trails before, and that's how I kind of mapped it. But, I pretty much dropped a pin, hey, we're going to meet here on Friday night at this time. If you can make it, cool. If you're not, meet us at this place the next night at this time. It was just
we ran into
awesome.
that not knowing how long it takes you to get down a trail in Michigan a little bit. So I feel you on that. This doesn't look like that much. And then it takes, you're going because 3 miles an hour. It's so rough.
That's the hard, so, all right, let's talk about that. So if you're looking at GPS, what are you using? Are you using Gaia or Onyx or Mix?
Gaia. That's what I pretty much use. Gaia, and then I'll use Google Maps for a little bit of reference. So
doing this trail, you can look at it depends on how far you're zoomed out, but you can look at a little stretch and be like, yeah, that's going to take us about 3 hours. And it turns out to take 6 hours.
Yeah. What do you use?
I use Gaia. But when I go to Arkansas, I always jump onto their Forest Service maps, and because there's so many trails down there that are closed seasonally. Not so many, there's a few. So you want to make sure that those trails are open, or they might they might intentionally close one to do some service on. Who knows? And then you want to make sure that it's still operational or in use. Sometimes they'll just say it's not, and not put a gate on it or berm it or anything or put out a notice. They'll just say, yeah, you can't use it.
Yeah, we ran into that. We went Martin Luther King weekend, 3-day weekend in January as the first multiple night when we took the wife on. We were still sleeping in the back of the Lexus on an air mattress, and we went up to Asheville, North Carolina. And my buddy went with us and his wife, and it was kind of the see if the wife likes it thing. And I planned all this crap out, and we get up there, and so we're going to sleep in the woods 2 nights. And then we had a loft in downtown Asheville booked for the 3rd night. So 2 nights of roughing it, nice loft, go out on the town, so it's kind of that good balance. And we get up there, and every trail we go down, we get down at 5 miles gated. So we ended up staying in state parks with showers, bathhouses. So my wife's like, this camping's great, using her blow dryer,
Yeah.
She didn't mind it one bit. But I was really ticked off at all the trails showed open on the Chattahoochee National Forest or Pixon National Forest page, and they're all closed. And they're seasonally they're open. They were barricaded from washouts, apparently. So we didn't know riding in on that trip hardly.
Yeah, well, that's another good point that you bring up. Trying to take your wives or significant others on these kind of trips. For most men, I was telling my wife this the other day. I think in Budget Overland Facebook group, I want to say 5% are female. It's that dramatic or drastic of, a male to female ratio in this, hobby, I guess. And so that's why we kind of always stress and push, if you want your girlfriend or your wives or whoever to go with you, baby steps. That was a great plan you guys had. 2 nights of roughing it and another night of awesomeness. So there ain't nothing wrong with that.
And what she kind of said, okay, she wanted to do this stuff just because she's like, you like doing it, so I'll give it a try. And I was like, well, what do you need? And she was like, I want a shower and I want a hair dryer. So that was kind of her request. The Patriot camper, we got it. It's got the shower.
Nice.
I've got a Honda generator that run a hairdryer. So yeah, we've got that. We haven't done she didn't go on the one in Michigan, so she hasn't done a lengthy one where the shower has to be used, nothing like that. But that was her request, and that's kind of why we bought the trailer. That, and so my stepson can go and take a couple buddies, and I keep the trailer geared up. I got 3 of those auto pop tents, 3 sleeping bags, 3 cots, 3 pillows, and I get there and issue all the teenagers. Here's your stuff. I'm going to go over here and drink a beer. So you put your tent up. That kind of helps me to be able to take them, and they can still have a good time to kind of keep all their gear in that trailer. So that was, if it wasn't for her wanting to go, we would have never got the trailer. I'd have just roughed it and slept on the ground or slept in the GX or something because I'm dumb.
So let's shift gears towards your Michigan trip. So you and Mike were the only 2 that went. Mike with a Frontier.
Mike, I think it's Mike Weeks. He's on our little GTA group too. He's got a 2023 Frontier Pro 4X, and then his girlfriend Val ended up going last minute. She actually had a whitewater rafting trip somewhere in Arkansas planned, and one of the girls had a family emergency last minute and had to cancel the trip. So she's like, "Can I go? It's a guy's trip." Yeah, but she's probably tougher than me and him. She does backpacking and all kind of stuff, so she's pretty hardcore. But it was 3 of us that went on this one. So.
And how long did it take you all to plan this trip?
So I briefly started looking into this. We went and got the trailer in March, and we stayed at a campground, Sebastian State Inlet, north of Fort Lauderdale, south of Daytona. And there were some people there from Canada who lived on the other side of Superior. And I was just talking about, we're going to do some big trips and all. And they mentioned Upper Peninsula and driving all the way around Superior, Lake Superior. And I was like, I started kind of looking at it on the radar. My original idea was to do Colorado. It was the first big trip, but I was like, man, Colorado is that's got to be a 14 to 17 day trip for me because it's 1,500 miles out there. So I was like, that's not going to work. So then probably about January, February, I was like, I'm going to start looking at Upper Peninsula. So I started just kind of planning it then. I started on Google, looking at stuff, a little bit of YouTube. There's not a lot of YouTube videos of the Upper Peninsula, people doing stuff. And then I started looking at Gaia, looking at all the state roads and federal roads up there, and there is a ton of dirt to ride up there that is all legal. You ain't got to go down this trail, make sure nothing happens. It's all marked with these little orange squares with a number on them. So there's just hundreds and hundreds of miles of dirt roads in Upper Peninsula. So that was kind of
So did you guys have any goal in mind, or just hey, we want to get to this point and then just see what happens? Or did you have goals?
I kind of planned, I planned either going up the east side or going up the west side. So going up through Michigan or going up through Wisconsin. And my kind of goal on this trip was to try to camp every night. We're up there on the shores of Lake Superior was my goal. And so I kind of started mapping down. We went July 4th week. So I was kind of thinking, so the west side up the Keweenaw Peninsula is a little more touristy, I believe, from what I gathered. So I figured we may need to get there after the 4th because I figured the 4th being on Tuesday, people go home Tuesday, Wednesday. So we wanted to make our way from east to west as the week went on. So that's kind of dictated the direction. And then after that, man, it was just I just studied maps on Gaia, sitting in the chair at night, watching TV, piddling, and just kind of, this looks good. And then I actually got on a couple of Michigan overland pages on Facebook, and a guy that runs Mitten State Tours, named Derek. He actually messaged me. I was like, hey, man, I see some posts you're asking. He was like, what do you got any questions? And he actually helped me out a lot here. I think he realized that probably wasn't, tourist level, idiot coming up there, I think. And so once he kind of realized that, he was pretty open with helping me out. It was like, hey, don't go here. This is a good spot. Try this. So he was really helpful to get my kind of end of the plan polished out. And eventually it got to the point, it was the law of diminishing returns. I finally stopped working on it about a month and a half ago because, like you said, once you get there, it's going to change. You just got to have some targets in mind. So we had our campsites targeted. And what I did is I took around each campsite, I took like a 15-mile radius and tried to pick 3 other spots as backups because you just don't know going into it. So kind of planned it out like that. And pretty much every route I went, I picked 2 dirt roads to do it and colored them on Gaia, purple and blue. And then I picked a paved road and colored it black that got us to the same destination if we had to jump on pavement because we were behind on time.
Nice.
So I kind of thought it out and kind of it worked out well because we did have to burn some pavement a little bit on this trip because we got behind a little bit. So. Oh, I lost you. You there?
I got my mic muted. That was stupid.
That's good.
Rookie mistake. No, we were talking, and you said it's absolutely worth going. So, what were your highlights of that trip? Was it all Upper Peninsula or anything in between that just really stood out to you?
Yeah. So, I mean, I just back up just a hair of it, so I like just the planning phase of it because I kind of talked about the map planning. But one thing you'll see is everybody complains about bugs up there in June and July, like the black flies and mosquitoes. I don't know how it is in Missouri, but in Alabama, I mean, mosquitoes like our state bird. We got a bunch of them. The ones at our peninsula are worse; they're bigger. But we took some your regular off deep woods bug spray. We took what thermocells are. Things you get at Home Depot, a little butane tank in and put a little wafer in it, and it's kind of like
I've seen those. Yeah,
they make a mosquito repellent, and then they make a multi-insect, which actually works with black flies. So we took those and took some vanilla extract, like rubbed them on our wrist. Honestly, the bugs weren't no worse than being home, in my opinion.
Okay.
You get out of the car, there'll be a swarm of them around your exhaust. They're attracted to heat. The mosquitoes are, it seems like, and then the black flies are attracted to like dark colors, like your black trim on your car. But they were not as much. People were literally telling me, like, your trip will be ruined if you go up there this time of year. By no means was it. And we were in the woods the whole time, camping at least. So, yeah, that was a little bit of a one. The only thing we didn't do as far as the trip, we'll get into that in a minute. We didn't go to Drummond Island, which is the far east side. That's probably the most extreme off-roading up there. And we just didn't do it for more of a timing thing. It wasn't that we didn't want to go ride those trails. We just didn't have the time to get over to that because it's about another day. So we didn't go to that. And then another thing, too, that you may know, and a lot of people, hopefully, when you go up there, you download your maps to whatever you're going before you go, because there is 95% of our trip in a UP, we had no cell phone service.
Yeah, that's a good point.
We did take a Starlink with us, so we were able to put that up at night and play with it. I just got one, so we kind of messed with it. Worked flawlessly. So we were able to FaceTime people, chat with people, show people videos, what they're missing. But for a safety perspective, especially if you're traveling by yourself, I would definitely have some type of satellite communication if you're going there by yourself. Because you see a lot of people, but then there's times you don't see nobody. So I would say that on the planning side. From the preparation side, you do need an ORV pass. And then you need a Michigan Department of Natural Resource pass to camp on their state land. They're like $40 each. They're not bad. The RV pass is kind of a gray area. They say if the trail is passable in a two-wheel drive, you don't need it. But who's to? So you just get one. That was about it. Emptied out a lot of gear I didn't need, lighting the trailer up, that kind of thing. As far as the prep side, we took 5 gallons of gas reserve. Never needed it. You can pop out and get gas there. It's all hole-in-the-wall gas stations because people ride snowmobiles up there all winter. So there's plenty of places to get fuel on the prep side. So getting into like the trip side, talk about the interesting part, I guess. We left out Friday night after work, midday work, left at like 1:30. Went up to Louisville. And so we missed our exit in Louisville because our destination was the Cabela's parking lot in Louisville. So I don't know if you probably shouldn't advertise this too much because people know you can boondock camp in Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's as long as there's not a city ordinance against it. So we're going to go to the one in Louisville, and there was nobody there. But the interesting part about this trip was when we got off the exit we missed, we go to turn around, we stopped at the red light, I hit the gas, and my trailer came off. So the lock pin, the cotter pin had gotten knocked out somehow, and I guess the pin had vibrated out, and the whole receiver come off. Thank God it happened there, not going down the interstate. And that was like some people say, "Oh, you're amateur or something like that." But I checked that before I left my house, and when we put 400 miles behind us, and I checked it every time we gassed up. So I don't know if some freak accident, a rock hit it, or it's a chain caught it turning sharp. I don't know, but I put a lock pin in it from that point on. So, but when it did that, it freaking ripped a 7-pin harness out of the car, blew all kinds of fuses. So we're in the parking lot. Me and my buddy are pretty decent mechanics, but the frustration and anger at 2 a.m. in Cabela's trying to rewire that stupid thing was no. So anyway, so I guess right back to your question again. I think I got on the leaving to go up there thing.
Well, that's just something else to consider. Even like you could, you could triple check things all the time. But I feel like once you're doing long road trips like that, anytime you get gas, just look around, walk around, kick your tires, do all that. Just, it might look stupid to people, but I mean, it doesn't matter. It's all about your safety and other safety.
I check the air pressure on the trailer every time we got gas, because it's 35-inch load range E tire with a 2,400 pound trailer. It'll be flat, no air before it won't even be able to see it really. So I did do that, but I never would have thought that a cotter pin would come out of a trailer pin going to the road, and that blew my mind. So yeah, and a good thing, being tall, I had back surgery a few years ago. I was really worried about the drive because it's about 1,005 miles from the house. And we stopped every 175 to 200 miles. That's about what the GX had on range, doing about 12.5 miles to a gallon. And was able to walk around and stretch. I never had the first back problem driving up there with all that. So that people complain about stopping a lot probably on trips, but that 10 minutes of walking around and stretching, pumping gas made the trip. I wasn't tired at all or fatigued at all. Did really well.
Yeah. So that kind of reminds me, and not to hijack your point, but to relate to it. Last year we drove out to Colorado in our 3rd-gen 4Runner, and like you said, I mean, I'm getting about 12, 13 miles a gallon. And here's the funny thing is my fuel tank, the gauge doesn't even work because on that year model, I think they put in a shorter fuel pump with the sending unit. So let's say it's an 18-gallon tank. I don't know. So I'm gauging it off miles. And so I told my wife, I was like, every 150 miles, we got to get gas just in case, and I'm putting in 8 to 12. So it's not even computing 12, 13 miles a gallon. So I can understand, and also had back surgery 16 years ago. And so like being in that tight conformed vehicle, getting out every 150, 200 miles was like fantastic. So,
yeah, you're right. I thought it was some killer time, killer pace, and all that, but it made it so much better.
Absolutely, and there's no need to be miserable just putting miles down. That's just going to ruin your trip.
Yeah, so that was good, even though it was still 12.5 miles per gallon. We did 2,800 and some change on miles, so about a grand in fuel, but
so,
I mean, it's worth it.
Did you guys do that trek in like 2 days? 2 days worth of driving to get up there?
Left, mid-afternoon out of Birmingham on Friday, stayed in Louisville, got up in Louisville early in the morning, and hit the Mackinac Bridge, ended up at Peninsula probably 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock.
Wow.
So we did about 11 hours on Saturday, did 6 hours-ish on Friday, so a day and a half.
Nice. So let's talk more into the deeper planning side. Did you guys split responsibilities as far as food or anything like that?
Yeah, so we did pretty good with food as far as planning. We my trailer's got a 70-quart fridge. Mike's got a 75 dual zone in his truck. So he kind of did all the drinks in his. We just loaded the trailer down with all the food. So we wouldn't have to open it. We stopped to get a drink. We just open up his tailgate and get that. So yeah, we kind of just meal prepped. Did everybody always has steak and potatoes one night. That's a staple. Sure. We did fajitas one night. Yeah, did tenderloins one night. Did beef tacos one night. I forgot to do something else, and then just did we took stuff to make buffalo chicken wraps, and then like sandwiches for lunch. So yeah, we just kind of split up the food as far as duty wise, but just combined it all. And that was one of the goals of this long trip. I've never done it before. Is I didn't want to stop and have to get anything except for fuel and water and beer, because we wanted to get some local beer. Because there's a couple breweries up there, so we actually took some beer with us. But we stopped. We get gas. We get some beer from local place up there that you can't get here. Yeah, we did. We brought food back with us. We did not use all the food at all.
Wow.
So that was good. That was a good. You don't have to worry about that stress, we got to find a grocery store or this or that. So having enough food and then having more than we needed that makes it a little bit easier of a time, I think.
Yeah. And here's like my new favorite meal, not necessarily meal, but an underrated type of food, I guess, would be like a tortilla, because you could do, you could do peanut butter and jelly tortillas if you wanted. I know that's kind of gross, but if you had to, you could.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of breakfast fajitas, which you could heat up, or not fajitas, breakfast burritos, because like the previous night, let's say you cooked some hamburger and had taco or something, you might have some leftover something. It's kind of like multi-use meals to where you don't have to pack a whole bunch of extra crap with you and just kind of plan out. But like, I mean, if you're on vacation kind of like that, it's like you want to have good food too. You don't want to just have boring stuff. You want, especially like my wife likes to cook. So sure, if you want to spend an hour doing some fancy meal at camp, more power to you. That's cool.
Yeah.
I've got friends that like to do that also.
One other thing about the tortillas, it's probably not thought about is you don't have to worry about crushing them like you do bread.
Yep.
The flying around.
They already do that for you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. You
I'm
get
the
into
worst.
camp. I mean, look at the trailer I got. It's got like a Weber grill that pulls out of the front. I keep the smallest Blackstone, like the 16 or 17, whatever it is. I keep one of those in the back of it with a little table to put it on. So got a stove in it too. We didn't use it at all this time, but plenty of ways to cook. That's not a lot of setup and not a lot of cleanup. So we're getting out and getting cooking is pretty easy in camp with the setup we had. So yeah, it definitely ate good every night. Lunch. Sometimes we just do crackers for lunch. It just depends on, because I've noticed when you get in the woods riding like that, you're not really burning a lot of calories. I mean, if you're not a person, if you have a job, but you're not like a desk job kind of person, which I'm a hybrid. I'm desk or on production floor. If I'm sitting all day, I don't tend to get that hungry. So lunch is kind of a hit or miss if you want to snack or not,
Mm-hmm.
But get into camp. You're
depending on if you've got time for it.
Yeah, getting in a good campsite at night and then getting in a good dinner. It's fun to cook, and you got multiple people cooking with you. That makes for the trip, makes it better.
So that's interesting you say that, because some people rather, and I'm more of a guy, I'd like to set up at least 2 to 3 hours before sundown, if at all possible. But some guys like to drive or run trails as much as they can, and they'll just whip over to the side and set up camp. I would prefer to know my surroundings before it got dark, just in case there was something going on at night, but maybe I just overthink certain things. But what about y'all? Were you trying to get there before sundown, or was there an agenda for camp? Was camp a priority?
I guess that's a yes and a we didn't understand aspect. So yeah, I like to get in camp before it's dark for a couple reasons. What you said is one. If you do have an issue, you have time to rectify the issue, or you also have the visibility to see where you're going, what you're doing. That's really nice. But also, you get into camp, your summertime camping, you go into camp at night, you got to turn on lights, and lights attract bugs. So that's one thing, getting camp. If you've got red lights, stuff like that, it does help. So I like getting in camp early, but the thing we didn't realize in the planning stage, it don't get dark enough, and this is until 11 o'clock at night in the summer.
I've heard that. Okay,
so
that makes sense.
So we're in camp the first night at like 7. It's like 10 o'clock. We're like, what time is it?
Gosh.
So you get like these long, like 3-hour sunsets if you're on the lake looking. So it's unbelievable. So
wow,
we actually were in camp always before dark, but probably a couple nights if we may not have been if we weren't in that location.
Yeah, that's wild to think about. And we're still going to try to go this year. Me, my wife, and son. We were aiming towards like later August, but for our area, school starts around the 3rd week of August, and to pull him out, he's 5 years old and he's starting kindergarten, so he's already kind of a brainiac kid. And he loves going to school, which is totally fine and totally opposite of me. But I told my wife, I was like, I don't want to go up there, at the beginning or mid-August where it's still going to be kind of hot and all the bugs. Because like you said, people were kind of like warning you like, oh, you're going to hate it. And then the people that I've talked to are local. They're like, yeah, just wait till, early 2nd week of September and you'll love it.
Yeah, the bugs just didn't bother us that much. I mean, we get in camp, put out the thermocells, maybe put on a little bug spray. You may smell funky from the DEET, but they just didn't bother us, man. We made sure we didn't cut on a bunch of lights at night. I had a couple red lights that just to give us a little bit of light we could see, but they didn't bother us that much. And as far as the weather, I think the highest temperature we saw was 77. The lowest at night, one night, was 49. So we left Alabama, it was 102 when we left here. So
wow,
the temperature was not a problem at all. I was lead guy the whole trip. So I rode it sunroof open, windows down most of the time. My buddy behind me couldn't because you're kicking up a little bit of dust,
Sure.
But the weather was phenomenal.
Well, that probably answers my next question. I mean, did you guys have bonfires or little campfires at night?
Yeah, so there's not a burn ban right now as far as campfire burn. There's a burn ban for burning brush fires kind of thing. So we did we rounded up 2 nights were directly on the beach pretty much. Or the shores. I don't know if you call a beach on a lake. I'm not sure. We debated that several times. Is it a beach if it's on a lake, or is it a shore?
I think if it's on the Lake Superiors and all that stuff, they're beaches.
Yeah, it definitely looks the part.
They're so massive. Yeah,
there's so much driftwood, and there's a lot of birchwood up there that burns great. So we've actually had pretty much every night we had some form of fire from some wood lying around. But we also have one of those like this second size up solo stove that's maybe 10-inch diameter. Had one of those, and you could throw some pellets in it, and that put off a little bit of smoke. Probably helped with the bugs too. But yeah, we had a natural fire pretty much every night. It was no problem finding wood around there.
Yeah, that's cool. Did you guys have any issues with any other campers or anybody out? What am I trying to say? Not camp. Like people camping. Any issues with humans? I guess.
No, that was one of the more refreshing aspects of the trip that I didn't factor it in, didn't think about it. I've been to I've been to places in the South and I've been places in the North that people are, rude, but the stereotype of people in the North, they're rude and arrogant, stereotypical thing. But I felt just as home in Upper Peninsula with the way that people treated us as I do in Alabama or Georgia or Mississippi or Florida. That Southern hospitality would be a good way to describe it. Everybody was kind. And it was one of those things where I kind of purposely try to tell them that, hey, I'm up here from Alabama visiting just so I can get some kind of feedback from them or some kind of recommendation. And so every person was like, how did you find out about this place? Because it's kind of nobody travels up there like that, apparently. It's not a normal thing to see people from, especially, from as far south as we were. So a lot of people mentioned.
That is a point.
So they were really cool. And as soon as you told them that, they were, hey, you've got to try this, look at this, check this out. And I don't know about Missouri, maybe you can, but in Alabama, you can't tag ATVs or side-by-sides. Up there in Upper Peninsula, you can. So most of these roads, they're snowmobile roads in the winter or trails. And then summertime, there's probably for every one car we pass, we'd pass 10 side-by-sides or ATVs.
Crazy.
And there'd be sometimes we'd go for 3 hours and not see anybody. So it was just hit or miss, but the people were wonderful. And from a in-camp thing, we pulled up this one campsite, and we were kind of overlooking. We were up on a kind of a bluff, and you could walk down the sand to the beach. There was a Jeep parked there, and there wasn't nobody around. And so I've got the shower set up in the water storage on my trailer. My buddy's got the awning on his truck because I don't have a shower awning yet. So we kind of had to park close so we could use the hose from my camper to his shower awning. And there was nowhere to do it in this campsite. And that guy come back, and he was actually from, where's he from? He was from Illinois, and he had been down to the Ozarks riding a few weeks prior. But he actually said, I'll move my truck to another site so y'all can park there so you can shower. So that was pretty cool move.
Cool.
So yeah, people were great. They're called Yoopers. Yeah, you heard that?
No, but I will.
So UP
I'll fit in now.
Yeah, UP Upper Peninsula. I think it was derived from that. So Yoopers. You'll see YOOP.
They call them that, or you guys dubbed them that?
No, we did not do that. I bought a tag that says Yoopers. So it was made before I went up there. But yeah, they're Yoopers.
That's awesome.
They'll brag about it.
Cool, man. So is there anything I need to know about going there? Anything you'd suggest?
Yeah, I would, let me see here. I would say one thing, do you have a way to air up your tires quickly?
Yes.
Yeah, that's something we didn't have. Had a little Ryobi battery pump. And there's several times where because you don't really know, you'll hit pavement. Oh, I need to air up. And then, you run 10 miles, you air back down, but then a couple of times we'd hit pavement and it would last for
does that happen a lot with the trails? Are they that short of a off-road trail?
No, I wouldn't say that, but you may ride like 20 miles on dirt or 25 and then you come out to pavement and you don't really know you're coming out to pavement because I try to stay on dirt all the time, and then you'd hit pavement. So it's just one of those things, and just a quick way to air up would make your life easier going up there, because you don't want to run your mud tires down the highway and get them cupped. If you're going 10 miles down the road, can cup some mud tires.
Well, not only that, you could roll off a bead, and a lot of people don't realize that too. If you're going 10, 15 miles an hour or PSI, 10 to 15 PSI, or even lower than that, and you're going 30, 40, 50 miles an hour, you turn a corner, I mean, you could be in the ditch. So
that's true, it affects your handling. So that was one thing that I learned that I didn't have because usually we go ride all weekend, we come out, we air up, we go home. So having to do that, maybe one day we had to do it like 3 times, but we covered like 140 miles that day, and 40 was on pavement, 100 was off-road. So
man, that's fun.
So I think we did a little over 500 miles in the whole Upper Peninsula, and probably 350 to 400 of it was off-road.
Wow.
So just that ability to air up and down where it doesn't take a ton of time. That's something I learned. I think what else on that? There was no issue finding fuel anywhere. You could always some trails go into the back of a gas station. It's like literally, I'm not joking. Like
that's funny. No, it's funny. It's probably because the side or the
snowmobiles. Yeah. So that was
funny.
something that was not a big problem. One thing I say, I think we let the late sunset kind of spoil us a little bit. So in the morning times, we probably weren't as proactive in getting out of camp as we probably should have been. And it's not that it really made a difference in anything, but you get one of those trails that you're going 3 miles an hour on because it's got whoops and you're just, so you don't move as quick as you think you do. So then you got to kind of adjust your plan to get to camp that night, blah, blah, blah. So I would say maybe we probably should have been a little more proactive getting out in the morning instead of being like, oh, it doesn't get dark till 11. We're good. I would probably try to get out of camp early in the morning if we did it again. And as far as for me, then I would like to, like I said, I'm not. Me and you both decided earlier when we couldn't get this thing to work for 45 minutes. We're not real good at tech, but I think I'd rather have a drone and several GoPros next trip and try to do some good filming, because there's some really cool spots to film up there. I don't think just to rough. You want like an outline of kind of what we did each day? That's
fine. Rough? Yeah.
Yeah. So like I said, day 1 we traveled up the first day, and then day 2 we stayed at right across the Mackinac Bridge is a state park called Strait State Park. So probably wouldn't for you coming in. If you come in from the west side, you're probably going to go up to Wisconsin, I would assume, maybe.
Yeah.
But if you go over to Michigan or whichever way you go, Strait State Park was really nice. It's $40 a night. So we want to get a good shower, everything there that night. It was good. Then you can walk down to the beach, and the Mackinac Bridge is lit up like Christmas at night.
That's
it's
awesome.
Amazing looking. So stayed there. That was really nice. We went up to Whitefish Point, which is pretty much the far northeastern side, and there's old Coast Guard barracks up there that are really cool to look at. Good little scenic spot, and you can kind of hit a left there, head west, and you're on the sand roads that lead. That are the sand roads the Coast Guard used to use to access all their lighthouses to service them back in the day. They're all still there.
Very cool.
And in the great, overlanding is so cool, and we all look cool at Walmart with our gear. I finally had to use traction board for something in the sand.
Oh, snap.
So I got stuck pretty good, right, not far after leaving that Coast Guard barracks, and had to get out the traction boards for the first time ever. So they now have good.
Were they, you're running all-terrain tires, correct?
Correct.
Okay, at what PSI?
So that's what we learned a little bit. So I dropped the truck tires were down to 18, and we dropped the trailer tires, which are load range E's, so they're 65 to 80 PSIs, dropped them down to 30. That was my problem. They were still making a wedge of sand in front of those tires, so that I had an anchor behind me is pretty much was the problem. Once we figured that out, we dropped those down to 18. They floated on top of the sand. I could go anywhere. But that was a learning curve. So if you got load range E tires, you may want to drop them a little bit lower. My all-terrains on the truck are load range C's.
So that's another thing. I was talking to my tire guy, and I've always run, the 10-ply tires on my off-road buggies. And, I always aired them up to about 50, 60 PSI, and it rode like a brick. And I talked to my tire guy one day. I was like, "What the heck?" He goes, "No, no, no." He's like, "You got to go off. It wasn't the door, but you got to factor in your different tire size too." He goes, "Most 10-ply tires, it's for like a 3/4 ton, 1 ton
You
pickup
got to factor
truck."
in your axle weight.
Yes. So it's like, if you're looking for that comfortability, like on driving and all that, without going stupid low on your PSI, you could also do like chalk tests and stuff like that to help eliminate that. And ever since I talked to him, man, I've always run it like 40 PSI, 35 sometimes on my rig, and it's night and day difference.
You talking about
some people just fill them up.
Chalk test and then drive it and see what the tread pattern does on concrete?
Yeah, you don't want to go. Yeah, you don't want to balloon it or anything like that.
Correct.
And I just think people can play with it. If you're in your town driving around, play with it for a couple days. Just see what fits for you.
So that was us.
That's a good point.
With the trailer, once we figured that out, I had no more problem with it. The tires on the GX, the truck, were load range C, so they're not quite as high PSI. I think they're only maybe like 8-ply, 7-ply, something like that. So once we figured that out, I didn't have any trouble in the sand. And it's, I'm used to driving in mud down here, so it is different. You just you gotta like your throttle a little bit when you hit that sand pit. You can't let off. You gotta stay in it.
See, that's something different for us. We don't have sand. You all have sand down south too, don't you? Alabama?
No, I mean, also you go to the coast, but there's really nowhere down there you can drive on sand.
Really? That's surprising me.
Not really. There's really nowhere to do it.
I would have thought it'd been kind of sprinkled all over in there, kind of like Florida maybe.
Yeah, Florida, there's some places to do it. That was I've driven to Ocala National Forest a little bit. When we bought the trailer, we actually went through there, but that was a sand road that was almost like being in Daytona. It was just hard packed. So it was, we didn't get the sugary sand like I got stuck in Upper Peninsula. But so on the far east side, like you get that, we started traversing west, and it starts getting sandy, rocky a little bit, all the way to the point where you get over to Gay, Michigan. You ever heard of that one? So you got to go to Gay, Michigan. You got to go to the Gay Bar.
You're spelling that G-A-Y?
G-A-Y. Yeah, it's a town called Gay, Michigan, and literally it has like a stop sign and a bar and a couple houses. it's called Gay, Michigan. And it's actually got a beach there, or a shoreline, that is all crushed iron ore aggregate from the copper ore. It's from the copper mines from the 1800s up until the 1960s. You can get out and drive on it. It's really awesome. It's huge. It's actually really bad for the environment because it's full of dang arsenic and stuff. But they're trying to clean it up somehow. But you can actually get out and drive on it.
Is that like the black beach that I've always seen people drive?
That's it. That's it. And it's in the town of Gay, Michigan. And you got to go to the Gay Bar and get you a shirt and a beer. And so that was cool. It's it's a good play on words. But as you get there, it starts getting more rocky and that reddish kind of crimson brown, and then all the way up the Keweenaw Peninsula. It gets really rocky up there, and there's really no sand at all once you get. Well, there is sand, but there's a lot more rock and stuff. So it changes a lot from the east to the west. The trails get a little more, bumpy as you go west, as opposed to being that sand you're just kind of floating through. But it's not. There's no. I would not. I know. I think you kind of like more of the challenging type trails you talk about.
Yeah, my wife doesn't, but
yeah. I do and I don't. So when I'm 1,000 miles from home, I'm definitely going to err on the side of caution, and I probably do more when I'm even right here at home, just because with what I got now with the rig I got, I'm more the vehicular based travel person. I want to travel, see, explore, get in camp, cook dinner, have a beer, have a bourbon, talk, build a fire. I don't want to be putting a tie rod in on the side of the trail, because I've done that. Got the T-shirt, merit badge. So none of the stuff we did was that extreme. Nothing was hard. Some of the roads you're running 40 miles an hour on them. They're just gravel roads. Some of them you got to go through because they're bouncy, they're ruddy. You're going up at not really hills. Not a lot of hills out there that I saw, but nothing's hard. Anybody can go up there in probably any basic all-wheel drive SUV and not have one problem.
Cool.
And I would check out the rocket range at the Keweenaw Peninsula, where they shoot rockets. NASA did in the 60s and 70s. That's pretty cool. There's a little plaque there that kind of commemorates where they did it. It was kind of abandoned for a long time. You got to have a Patsy when you go up there. Heard of that?
Say it again.
A Patsy. It's like a kind of a hot pocket-ish pot pie thing. It was what the miners ate. It's like the traditional food of Upper Peninsula. So you got to get a Patsy. There's stands all over that you get them. I would recommend one called Roy's in Hoagton. It's the only bridge going over to the Keweenaw Peninsula from the mainland. And Roy was a great guy to talk to, and he was like, so I'm recommending him because he was one of the few people we asked that did not care. We filled up our water tanks, tossed our trash,
nice,
all that. So we ate there. He was great. That's probably about it, man. That I can think of just in our, what are we going now? 50 minutes. We were worried we couldn't go. Worried we couldn't go for 30.
No, man, and I love talking to you about this because it's really like making me more and more excited to go. I'll be honest with you. I was kind of on the fence about this whole trip anyway, but me and my wife, we really wanted to do something, out of the ordinary. It seems like everybody goes to Colorado or down south or even down east or out east and stuff. And so I was like, let's just go to the Upper Peninsula. It's kind of different. It might be a little cooler than what we're dealing with right now. And, I was kind of doing some minor research. I'm just like, I don't know if I want to drive 14, 15 hours.
When we left camp, we come down and camped in the Ottawa National Forest the last night in the Upper Peninsula, which is, you're still in Michigan, you're not in Wisconsin yet. And when I got up that morning, it was 17 hours and 42 minutes to home. So that part was a little daunting. But honestly, man, I don't regret the drive at all. I think it was great. I'm actually tentatively, we're going to do it again next year, July 4th week. Because I don't think you could spend a month up there, I think, and not probably see everything. There's that many unpaved roads to ride on. It's unbelievable.
That's awesome.
Unbelievable. And the wife didn't go this time, and about night 2, and we're on this, had the Starlink set up and FaceTime, and her showing her the views. Yeah. She's like, why did I not go? So she really regretted not going. So I think
dadgummit.
I think we're going to go. I think we're going to go back next year because it's just it's a good trip, man. It's no stress. You know how it is. You get a good overlanding trip in. You don't deal with nothing. No stress. Yep. You get back home. You go back to work or whatever. You go to the beach down here. You get home from that. You want another vacation. Yeah,
that's right.
These overland trips, you don't. You get home. You're rested. You're relaxed. So
that's why, like me and my buddies, even if it's like a weekend trip or whatever, I've got to go at least once a month, somewhere, just to get out and rewind and.
That's what I hate about summer. It's so hard to do it in the South. It is so freaking hot.
I know it.
That's why I chose Michigan. It was Michigan or Colorado were my two places that I was looking at. I was actually looking at going to Nova Scotia, but that was another one. That's another. That'd be closer to drive to Colorado. So
yeah, that'd be fun.
So that was
it would be cool to go from like the east to the west. Up in Canada like that.
Yep.
Spend about a month to do that. That'd be awesome.
That'd be a glorious trip. But and I don't know how your wife is with the being like if she gets scared on the trails or nothing. I don't like that, but like there's nothing it's not hilly. It's not like being in probably the Ozarks or in Alabama. It's not hilly. It's all flat. Like when we got to one hill we had to climb. My buddy radioed me. He was like, "What is this in front of us?" So it's all flat, but it's just scenic, man. You're out,
sure.
driving in the sand. It's quiet. It's good. And then. Literally, we camped 4 nights in a row on the shores of Lake Superior on the beach. You can't do that, man. You can't do that anywhere else. So I would highly recommend it. It's a good trip.
Well, before we wrap this thing up, man, we're coming in on about 55 minutes. Is there anything you want to tell anybody listening to this that's potentially planning a trip to go to the UP?
Like I said, biggest thing, if you're going to use some kind of digital maps, download it before you get there. Because you're not going to have cell service. Play it safe. Take a buddy, another truck, or have some kind of sat communications because there's some places up there that you're in the middle of nowhere. So I'd be safe on that. Make sure your rig's reliable, but you're not going to beat it to death. That's kind of basic stuff I'm getting at there. But Upper Peninsula, go up there and when you see somebody, talk to them. Tell them where you're from because they will be shocked and they will share some information with you about their culture and about where to go and what to check out. So that people told us, I probably should have had a notepad because everybody's like, go do this, go do this, go do this, go do this. And we probably did like 2% of what people told us because we couldn't remember because they're telling us so much stuff to try. They want you to experience their home, their land. So if you go up there, you come face to face with somebody on a side by side on a trail, stick your hand out because you got to slow down to pass anyways. Say hey to them, talk to them, and that would be what I recommend because the people up there, the Yoopers, were absolutely amazing to
That's awesome.
chat with.
Man, you're making me so excited to go. I want to leave right now.
That's what I said today. I was like, man, I just want to go back.
You're just like, why am I still here?
Yeah, it's a good trip. I would recommend anybody do it. It's not difficult. It's not intimidating. You're not going to hit any. I mean, there's probably some stuff up there that would intimidate, maybe over in Drummond Island, but overall, it was all easy riding. But the easiness was probably outweighed by how enjoyable it was.
Cool. Well, man, I think we're going to head towards the door. Is there anything else you want to say? Anything you want to plug? Now's the time.
No, man, I don't have nothing. I'm going to try to get some social media stuff going eventually. We have a page called Parking Lot Overlanding, but it's on Instagram, but it's not nothing yet. We're trying to probably get it going soon. It started as a joke because you see all the people with their traction boards and their axes and their stuff and the rooftop tents at the Home Depot, There's a picture of us.
This is all pre-mall crawler jokes.
Yep, that's them. It's there's a picture of us on there. I posted yesterday, 4 of us camping in a Cabela's parking lot. So that's probably the poster child for Parking Lot Overlanding. But that's it. Yeah, just it's good chatting with you.
I'll have to give you a follow.
Yeah, that was literally there's
man.
probably 10 people on it. But we need to start plugging it some more and putting together. I'm trying to put together some. I did a lot of recording on this trip. First time I've done that, so I'm going to try my best to put together a video and get that rolling down the road. But it's good chatting with you, Benji.
Yeah, dude, I'm so glad you reached out to me. It's like I was excited.
Yep, it's going to be good. Well,
I'm even more excited.
Hopefully get up to Ozarks and ride sometime. Mike Hancock's trying to talk us into coming to Rendezvous, so I don't know, maybe.
Oh, man, you better. What is that? October 11th and 12th?
Something like 12th,
that. 13th, something weird.
We're just struggling. We have
Mike.
We have big football parties down here, so.
Yeah, that's prime time.
It's the prime time for football and camping. It's what sucks.
Yep.
But it may come though.
Yeah, man.
All right, man.
Well, any other time, if you're ever up in the Ozarks or anything, hit me up, man. I'll meet you guys down there for a night or two.
Yeah, we'll be in touch. And like I said, as you plan out your UP trip, man, let me know. I'll give you some secret spots if you locals gave me.
Awesome.
For camping. So, all right, man. We'll chat with you later.
All right, Jason. Appreciate you coming on, man.
All right,
Take her easy.
See you.